Now, talking about positivity, I want to introduce you to a guy who I recently met. And I don't know how people survive working for this guy. He has just got so much energy. And I look forward to introducing now Mr. Atif Rahman, the director and partner of Danube Property. Atif, how you doing?
Hi, Philip. Thank you so much for that extra kind introduction.
I said to your marketing person the other day, how do you survive working for this guy? You must go home exhausted every afternoon.
Well, I think I'm blessed. I'm really blessed to have the people that are working for me. Like I've always maintained, God has been extremely kind, alhamdulillah. And I think I have the best set of people working for me. I think, going through some of the great comments from great veterans from the industry, Philip, when you look at any business, it's very simple, I think it's very important to stay away from optimistic or pessimistic view, and we need to maintain constantly a realistic view. That is very, very important. And when you see businesses suffering, more often than not, you would find that the businesses were planned to survive during an economic boom, and they had a deficit of strategy, they had deficit of cash flow, they had deficit of management for surviving during a crisis. Now, let me, first of all, like I was listening very carefully when you were opening the webinar today, and you were mentioning about the importance of decision making. And I think one of the key things which helps any business survive is the decision making, and more importantly, spontaneous decision making. That is very, very important. It's vital for any business. When you talk about crisis, I think economic boom is an equal crisis for any business. Look at the cost inflation you can get stuck with. I mean, I think I'm experiencing one of the best times, because I've told my tender and contracts department to roll out absolutely every tender that we hold, because it's one of the finest time to roll out the tenders and bring in the contractors. I am able to negotiate one of the best prices right now. The contractors who are willing to work on cost plus basis, Now, when you look at the current situation, it's very simple. If I had planned my business to survive during boom, it will only survive during a boom. It did not have a strategy. Let's talk about resilience and sustainability and all the terms that we have developed. It's beautiful, it's great, but what is it? I think in business, I have believed what my grandfather taught me for construction and business. He told me, son, always remember, before technology and engineering, it's about common sense. And that's what we need to maintain at any given point of time, whether it's an economic boom or a recession. I mean, in one of my interviews I mentioned, was it raining dollars before the COVID? No. Any sensible business was eyeing an economic recession from end of 2018. The writing was on the wall. The markets were slipping down. Now, if I was not planned as a business, I would suffer. If I get carried away with the seasonal demands or the seasonal trends that are developed from this COVID, I'm weak as a business. I'm not strong as a business to have that resilience and sustainability, because I'm driven by the market. When we talk about any business, for it to be sustainable, for it to be resilient, I need to have strong principles and strategies within the business. And that is what makes your business survive during the crisis. As I said, it is an economic crisis. I have 3 indicators for my business: sales, whether I'm selling new inventory; revenue, if people who have bought before are paying me; and third is the deliveries, how many projects, how many properties we are delivering. All 3 are higher than 2019. So what should I cry about? I mean, this year has been fantastic. If I see my year-on-year figures, I am looking at a positive growth in my sales, in my revenues, and in my deliveries. I did not have to fire anyone. I did not have to do any salary corrections, and I did not have to slash my prices, because my assets, my inventories are aptly priced. So I did not have to roll out special offers or anything like that. We have not changed at all as a business. We have remained.
Atif, a very positive, confident sound there. But I know Danube is a relatively young development company here in the UAE. I think you started in 2014. I understand that you've in this period of time have developed 14 major projects. I mean, you're very progressive and active. Aren't you a little bit concerned with some of the media we hear about an oversupply of housing in the UAE for this area of residential development?
Philip, see, two things. I'll talk about the oversupply and also very important matter that you had brought, that what are we going, it's good to be optimistic, but what are we looking at for the real estate and the construction industry in 2021 and 2022? When you talk about oversupply, I have maintained my stand on oversupply, that the risk of oversupply looms in any city across the globe. I mean, let me give you an example. We're talking about India, a country with 1.3 billion people. For God's sake, all you have is people over there, man. You know, look around, you see people, right? In a country with a 1.3 billion population, two metropolis, two of the main cities, the financial capital and the political capital, the country's capital city, Delhi and NCR. Mumbai, financial capital, is sitting with 170,000 ready homes, no taker. Delhi NCR is sitting with 200,000 ready homes, no taker. We are not talking about projects in pipeline. We're talking about ready homes. And we are talking about a country where you have a huge population drain coming into these metropolis. These are the two key cities where people come for business, for employment, for opportunities. And we have ready homes and there are no takers. So the risk of oversupply will remain in every particular city across the globe. It depends, it varies from city to city on various different factors. But there will never be oversupply of good properties. And that is when you see the market drifting from the average properties into a better property. So if you are a developer and you are developing a good property in a good location with a good design, with good amenities, you don't have to worry about oversupply. If you are an investor, you have bought into a property that is good in terms of value, you don't have to worry about it because people will move from average properties into better properties. People start upgrading during the economic recession. Now, when you look at good properties, let's understand the construction. It's a process. It's a multi-layered industry. It's not something I can class that only this is a good property. No, there are several good properties that can exist within a city. There has to be a conscious effort in every stage of the construction that has to be given. Like, for example, when I select the consultant, what is the general perception? This consultant is good or bad or average? Is based on the architecture. But I don't look at it that way. I want to know what kind of MEP design this consultant has done. I want to know what kind of structure they have developed. I want to know what kind of efficiencies they have developed in this project. I want to know what kind of reduction on carbon footprint they have delivered on this project. That becomes my parameter for selecting my consultant. When I am selecting the materials, when I am underwriting the factories, I want to know what kind of sustainable material we can develop. When I'm selecting my contractor, I need to be conscious of that the contractor is not over leveraged, is committed to my project and will be able to deliver the best possible quality in the quickest time. We are able to match that in a good location. We have implemented a good design, the asset will hold value. When you talk about the future, when you talk about 2021, 2022, I see a big concern. Why? Because I think we continue to talk and boast about the great infrastructure that we have created. I think we need to give up talking about the infrastructure, the hard and the soft infrastructure that has been created. That's history. It's already been done. Imagine if Dubai spent time 10 years ago or 20 years ago talking about its achievement that we have created Burj Al Arab. I don't think Dubai would have come this far. The reason why Dubai came this far and it was faster than any other city is because it was not talking about its accomplishments. It was talking about what more needs to be done. And I think we need to focus on creating more demand. And we need to look at liberalizing the banking sector. These two remain one of the key opportunities in the city.